Look, I know some of y'all are out here not even realizing that opera still exists. It does. That one's actually not even on today's list. That's a freebie. But even if you're not a longtime opera lurker, I guess keep track. I want to know how many of these you knew, because if it's 0, I love a blank slate. That's what this channel is all about. And if it's 7, are you an opera singer? I am. I'm Kate. Hi. And here are 7 things you probably didn't know about opera, besides the fact that it still exists. So for pretty much any modern genre that we hear people musicking in, pop, rock, jazz, doesn't matter, we're used to hearing improv these days, at least a little bit, you know? Opera though? Everything's written down, everything. From how loud you're supposed to sing, to how soft you're supposed to sing, to whether you hit it really hard or whether you do it really soft, or whether you like float the note. Doing it soft and floating are the same thing. Doing it fast. You know what I mean? Like if you go, that kind of thing. That was a crazy noise. Everything's written down, that's my point. Now some of you might be thinking, God, that sounds an awful lot like you're a computer. And you're not wrong. I mean, there's a reason that we go to school for this. I guess you kind of can think of it as like us getting programmed to be able to plug and play these performances, but there is artistry involved in it, I swear. You know how like on Great British Bake Off, all the contestants get the same recipe, and then some people produce like these amazing gourmet croissants that I just want to like wrap myself in like a blanket, and then other people give you basically like a greasy paperweight? That's just like opera. Take the same music, give it to 2 different opera singers, and you get 2 completely different results, even if we're doing the same thing. But yeah, like it's not allowed. It's not the practice to put your own spin on opera pieces, like to the point where we don't even change keys. Like you're not allowed to go in and say, actually, oh, you know what, this aria is a little bit too high for me. I'd like to sing it a bit lower. Heck no. Holy cow. Not a thing. Everything is exactly the way the composer wrote it 300 years ago, or 10 years ago, or today, or whatever the case may be. You do it exactly as he wrote it, and if you can't do it, sorry, guess this piece isn't for you. That comes down to like the shortest little grace notes. If you have never seen an opera forum where people debate whether or not to put the grace note on the beat or before the beat, friend, you have not lived. It's serious stuff, okay? It feels like we all sort of assume that opera equals Italian, which is kind of like assuming that every book is English because Shakespeare was. Opera's been around forever in all different parts of the world. There are tons of languages that it's been written in. I mean, obviously Italian is big, of course, but you also have German and French and English and Russian and Czech and Hungarian. There's probably an opera in Klingon. I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised. And as singers, our job is to learn all of those languages to the point where we can perform them on stage in front of audiences full of native speakers. Most of us can at least speak some of them conversationally, not all of them. God, maybe there's somebody that can speak all of them. Oh my God, who are you? But most of us can do a handful. And a big part of the reason that we all have master's degrees, seriously, is because we spend a lot of time learning these languages and also learning how to pronounce them pretty close to accentless. Well, okay, that's up for debate, of course, but we try really hard. We actually follow a language called the International Phonetic Alphabet. It's like a written alphabet, I suppose, that teaches you how to pronounce things no matter where you're from in the world. And so we learn that, and then we learn how to pronounce the words in a certain language using that particular IPA diction source. It takes a long time. It takes a long time. And we go through years and years and years of education and coaching and rehearsals and all sorts of stuff, just focusing specifically on the languages themselves and performing them without any kind of cop-out from where you're from. Doesn't matter where you're from. If I'm American and I don't speak German, who cares? Go learn it. At least go learn the opera. Also, it's kind of like a horror story in the opera world of like when you get your first professional gig. I'm talking at like an A-level opera house, not like the coming up through the ranks ones, but like the first big break at like the Met or something like that, that a coach will take you through every single word in the opera and ask you, what does this mean? And like for something like shepherd, pastorello in Italian, that you would need to know that just like off the top of your head. Terrifying. But as an audience member, you don't need to worry because we know that most people in the audience don't speak the language the opera's in. So it's pretty standard practice in most opera houses these days to have super titles over the top of the stage, or even in like really fancy ones, they'll have them in front of your seats. That's nice. And then you can read exactly like if you were watching an anime, then you can follow along with the subtitles, super titles, whatever they are, over the course of the entire opera. So you won't get lost, I promise. If only metal bands would be so courteous. I think it helps to think of opera singers like athletes. Like if we take track and field, not every runner is gonna be the best in every event, right? Like some people are built to be sprinters, some people are better at marathons, some people should be hurdlers, and those people will always outperform the others whose bodies were not physically made for that particular activity. And would others in track and field at like an Olympic level be good at an event that's not theirs? Yeah, probably, like more than the average person for sure. But if you were to take 20 different people and give them the exact same training, you would get 20 different results, kind of like our croissants and our paperweights before, I guess. Boy, there are a lot of metaphors going on in this video. Similes, I apologize. But that helps me anyways, to think of opera singers like athletes. All of us with the same training have different things that we're good at in opera, and that's what we're gonna be cast to sing. So for example, it's pretty common to think, if you're not that familiar with opera, that the faster and higher someone's able to sing, the better they are. And that couldn't be further from the truth. That's like saying that somebody who can sprint is better than somebody who can run a marathon. It's not about that. It's two completely different skill sets within the same realm of vocal athleticism. If you think of it in pop, like Adele is never gonna sound the same as Ariana Grande. You give them the same music, they're gonna sound completely different because they have two totally different voices. But is Ariana better because she can sing higher than Adele and she can sing faster than Adele? I don't know. It's not about who's better, right? It's about taste. It's about what you like. It's about the kind of music and expression that you want to hear. And it's about the artist and it's about the song, and there's so much more going on there. It's not just who's better than who. At a certain point, everyone's good. The fun part comes in when you get to start labeling singers. Oh my God, we are obsessed with labeling. You know what it's like? It's like sorting at Hogwarts. If it was a democratic process and if there were like 30 different houses. God, that sounds like a nightmare. And of course, none of this is to say that like a light lyric soprano, for instance, couldn't perform Wagner repertoire. Like, of course they can. It's not like anything's gonna happen to their voice if they stand in their living room and sing Wagner, like fine. Just for the pure health of their voice. It's really important for opera singers to think about what's gonna allow me to continue to sing until I'm 70, until I'm 80. A lot of opera singers, especially the top tier ones, they don't retire until they're in their late 60s, early 70s. And yes, the voice will change over time, but if you've been singing to a hall of 2,000 people, unamplified, we'll get to that in a second, over the course of a 40-year career, and you can still speak at the end of it, opera technique, babe, opera technique. So yes, the idea is prevent injury, do what your body is good at, and then let the rest sort itself out. This is one of my favorite facts to tell people. Yes, we do not use microphones. Well, okay, we don't use amplification. Well, I'm trying to like prevent everyone screaming at me in the comments, but you know what? That's what we're all here for, right? Go for it. What I mean is we do not use microphones to project our voices electronically into a hall. There, that's what I mean. If you see a mic like dangling on somebody's forehead, it's probably just there because they're recording that particular performance. So yes, in that sense, we use mics for recordings, but it's not actually doing anything to make you hear their voice better. There we go. And when I say we don't use amplification, I mean electronic amplification. So, you know, opera houses are constructed in such a way that the acoustic of the hall obviously will amplify our voices, purely, literally physics. But the reason that you're able to hear opera singers the way that you can when you're in an opera house is because of our technique. That's actually literally why opera sounds the way it does. If you've ever wondered why it's so dark, why is it so heavy, why does it have so much vibrato, that has everything to do with us doing something to put our voice into your ears 50 meters away from us with 2,000 other people around you without a microphone. We can do that all day, every day for 40 years. And at the end of those 40 years, we will still be able to do it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Also, this is one of those things that I love about opera, the acousticness of it. Like, I don't know what it is that makes me so obsessed with this idea, but like, if there was a zombie apocalypse, opera would not care. Literally nothing would change. Like if we could just completely lost electricity, if the power went out in the middle of an opera performance, like yeah, you probably wouldn't be able to see as well. Light some candles, the music won't change at all. At all. How cool is that? I feel like that's so cool. Now, like we can't sing everywhere with no microphones. So for instance, if we're performing in an outdoor theater or in like a big festival or something like that, or if we're performing in a stadium or like something that's not an opera house, then yes, odds are good good, we're probably going to have at least some kind of amplification. Maybe we will be forced to use a microphone because like nature is not helpful with carrying voices longer than like in front of your face. So, but if you go to an opera house, we are not using mics. How cool is that? Ask my neighbors. They know. They know. Oh, my poor neighbors. I do text them. I text them before I'm going to practice, and I have a rehearsal space. But still. I know this one's controversial because can kids sing opera? Sure. Should they? Let's go back to the athlete's idea here. Opera technique is like vocal powerlifting. You don't hand a 12-year-old like a 200-pound barbell and say, go nuts. No, because like maybe a very rare few could do it. But also, what is it doing to their spine? It's the same with opera. Young people just don't have young people. God, could I sound older? Kids? That sounds demeaning. Young singers just don't have the physical maturity to do the techniques required to project your voice into a hall. Remember we talked about the opera sound sounding the way it does because of that particular technique to make yourself heard without a microphone. Because kids don't have the physical musculature to be able to do that actually yet, like truly their muscles just have not developed in their throat to be able to do that, what they're doing instead is mimicking the sound. So they're using their muscles and their mouth and their tongue in a way to darken the sound, make it heavier, force it into something that sounds like an adult voice, but it's not even an approximation. It's a completely different thing, and it's very dangerous vocally, health-wise for a kid. And it's sad because these kids are really gifted. It's very impressive that they are able to do this, but by the time they get to be adults, they will have done something so damaging for so much of the time that their muscles were still developing that odds are really good they're not actually going to have enough left to be able to sustain the kind of career that opera singers need to be able to sustain. That's just really sad. This is obviously a topic that can be explored in much more depth. So if you'd like a video on that, give this video a like. Let me know. Gender bending in opera. Groundbreaking. Oh my God, iconic. So think about how old opera is, right? Like hundreds of years old. And, hello, patriarchy. There was a time that women were not allowed on opera stages. We're all shocked. Hide your shock. So men had to play those roles. And to make that believable, let's just say there were some surgical adjustments that were required. Eventually that practice got outlawed, thank God. And then we moved into having women on stage, and from time to time you would have two women on stage, one playing a man, one playing a woman, and they'd be, doing all the things that they had to do in the plot to make it work, and it was exciting. Actually, sometimes it was even done on purpose because it was so, I think you know what I mean when I say exciting, right? Mozart literally wrote they're called trouser rolls in opera. Mozart literally wrote a trouser roll just because he kind of had this fantasy of seeing women wearing pants, kissing other women. It's an interesting spelling of the word horn dog. So if you ever go to an opera and someone says, hey, is that a man or a woman? The answer is yes. Yes. These days we tend to make opera like one big thing. You like it or you don't. It's a monolith. We like lump it all together like it's one big playlist called old people music. Ow, that actually but opera has existed for centuries in tens of countries with dozens of languages across thousands of operas. It's not just one genre. So if you find an opera you don't like, the good news is there's probably loads out there that you do. Didn't like Wagner? Cool, try Mozart. Not a Mozart person? That's okay, maybe try Puccini. Oh my God, Puccini. Don't like Puccini? What's wrong with you? But okay, try Britten. And if you don't like Britten, okay, maybe you don't like opera. You can go listen to an orchestra. Just kidding, don't come from the orchestra gang. One love. One love. Personally, I'm a Puccini stan. But you could also give me pretty much any late romantic, pentatonic inspired, verismo, lush orchestration and someone dies at the end opera. And odds are pretty good that I'm gonna love it. I also love English choral music. I kind of lump that into the opera genre, even though let's not get into it, but it's classical vocal music, so I put it in there. I love that. I love that stuff. Yes, my child entered this world to the British coronation anthem. Why are you asking? If you learned something, let me know what it was. If you didn't learn something, let me know what it wasn't. If you want to start getting into opera specifically, you can check out my opera guide playlist here, or you can subscribe to my Substack, The Mood Listener. I also have a podcast, Never Heard I Ever, available wherever you get your podcasts. And that's enough plugs.
Oh, I know, I'm sorry. Oh, I know. Oh, it's the worst. I think I've got cat hair on here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. Ugh.